Good evening. We begin with a shocking revelation that has sent shockwaves through Kenya's diplomatic and security circles. According to a confidential intelligence report presented to Parliament this week, more than 1,000 Kenyan citizens have been recruited to fight for Russia in its war against Ukraine. This figure is 5 times higher than previous government estimates and raises profound questions about national security, economic desperation, and foreign interference. I am your host, and tonight, we are taking a deep dive into this complex story. We will examine the report's findings, hear the official denials, analyze the potential financial incentives, and explore what this means for Kenya's youth and its international standing. This is Kenya News Update today. Let's start with the core revelation. The report, compiled by Kenya's National Intelligence Service and presented to the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations, states that over 1,000 Kenyans are now believed to be fighting on the Russian side in Ukraine. This is a staggering jump from the official figure of around 200 that had been cited by authorities as recently as last month. The recruitment is alleged to have been conducted through a sophisticated network of agents operating in Nairobi, Mombasa, and other major urban centers, targeting primarily young men facing unemployment. The report suggests these recruits are offered contracts with the Russian military, often with the promise of citizenship and significant financial compensation upon completion of service. The intelligence indicates that the first wave of recruits departed Kenya in late 2024, with numbers accelerating through 2025 and into early 2026. The immediate and forceful response came from the Russian embassy in Nairobi. In a statement released on Thursday, embassy officials categorically denied any involvement by the Russian state in what they termed illegal recruitment activities. The statement read, in part, "The Embassy of the Russian Federation in the Republic of Kenya does not conduct and has never conducted any recruitment campaigns for military service among Kenyan citizens. Any allegations of such are baseless and aimed at damaging bilateral relations." However, the statement contained a crucial caveat that has become a standard Russian diplomatic line. It added, "At the same time, in accordance with Russian law, foreign citizens have the right to voluntarily enter into contracts for military service in the armed forces of the Russian Federation. This legal loophole is the gray area where this entire controversy resides. It allows Moscow to maintain official deniability while private military companies or other intermediaries potentially do the recruiting. So, why would over 1,000 Kenyans sign up to fight in a distant European war? The answer, according to security analysts and economists we have spoken to, lies in a potent mix of economic desperation and lucrative financial offers. Kenya's youth unemployment rate remains stubbornly high, officially hovering around 13% for those aged 18 to 34, but informal estimates suggest the real figure is much higher. For a young man in Kibera or Mathare, the promise of a stable income is powerful. Now, let's talk numbers. While the exact figures in the Kenyan recruits' contracts are not public, we can look at comparable offers. Reports from other regions indicate that the Russian military and associated private military companies have offered foreign fighters monthly salaries ranging from $2,000 to over $5,000. For context, the average monthly wage for a Kenyan in formal employment is approximately 50,000 shillings, or about $400. A mid-range offer of $3,500 per month is nearly 9 times that amount. Over a standard 6-month contract, that is a potential earnings of $21,000, or roughly 2.7 million shillings. For many, this represents a life-changing sum that could fund a business, build a house, or support an entire family for years. This brings us to the critical financial metrics embedded in this story. Our analysis, based on the intelligence report's figure of 1,000 recruits and conservative salary estimates, reveals the staggering scale of the financial flow. If we assume an average monthly salary of $2,715 per recruit, the total monthly outflow from Russia to these Kenyan fighters alone would be approximately $2.7 million. Over a hypothetical 6-month deployment period, that figure balloons to over $16.2 million, or about 2.1 billion shillings. But the financial impact does not stop at salaries. The report also hints at significant signing bonuses or upfront payments to entice recruits. If each recruit received an average sign-on bonus of $9,309, the total initial payout would be over $9.3 million. Combined, the potential total financial commitment for this cohort of 1,000 Kenyans could exceed $25.5 million in the first half of 2026. This is not just a security issue. It is a major economic transaction with serious implications for Kenya's foreign currency flows and the potential for these funds to influence local economies and even politics upon the fighters' return. The Kenyan government's position has been one of cautious concern. Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, addressed Parliament yesterday, stating, "The government is aware of these disturbing reports and is conducting its own thorough investigations. We wish to assure Kenyans that any form of illegal recruitment or trafficking of our citizens for mercenary activities is condemned in the strongest terms possible." However, opposition lawmakers have been far more critical. Apio Wandayi, the minority leader in the National Assembly, accused the government of negligence. The fact that over 1,000 of our sons could be shipped out to die in a foreign war without detection points to a catastrophic failure of our border and immigration controls, he stated during a heated debate. The government counters that the recruits often travel on valid tourist visas to third countries like Turkey or the United Arab Emirates, from where they are transferred to Russia, making interception extremely difficult. Beyond the politics and the money, this story has a profound human dimension. We spoke to families in several counties who suspect their missing sons and brothers may have been recruited. In Nakuru, a mother who asked to be identified only as Mama Kevin shared her anguish. "My son Kevin, aged 24, told us he got a construction job in Qatar. He left in November last year. We have not heard from him since January. His phone is off. Now with these news, my heart is broken. Was it a job or was he tricked?" Her story is echoed by dozens of similar accounts emerging on social media and in local community forums. This situation creates a domestic crisis for families left in the dark, not knowing if their loved ones are alive or dead on a Ukrainian battlefield. It also poses a future reintegration challenge. What happens when, or if, these battle-hardened, traumatized young men return to Kenya with significant cash and combat experience? Security experts warn of the potential for increased militia activity or organized crime. The international ramifications are equally significant. Kenya has traditionally maintained a non-aligned foreign policy, carefully balancing relations between Western powers and Russia. This mass recruitment threatens to tilt that balance. The United States and European Union, key allies and donors, are likely to view this as Kenya tacitly allowing its citizens to bolster Russian forces, potentially violating international sanctions. Already, sources within diplomatic circles indicate that the U.S. Embassy has raised the issue formally with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For President William Ruto, who has sought to position Kenya as a stable, rules-based partner on the global stage, this is a major diplomatic headache. It complicates his relationship with U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, which has taken a firm stance against Russian expansionism, while also straining ties with Moscow, an important partner in areas like nuclear energy and wheat imports. Let's now consider the counter-arguments and the complexity of the situation. Some commentators and a few families we spoke to argue that this is ultimately a matter of individual choice and economic opportunity. A man in Eldoret, whose nephew is allegedly fighting, told us he is a grown man. He finished university but sat at home for 3 years with no job. If Russia gave him a chance to earn and secure his future, who are we to judge? It is better than stealing or becoming a thief here. This perspective frames the recruitment as a form of labor migration, albeit an extremely dangerous one. Furthermore, some question the veracity of the intelligence reports' numbers, suggesting they may be inflated by agencies seeking more budget or political leverage. Without official lists of names or confirmed casualties, the figure of 1,000 remains an estimate, though one that multiple independent security analysts we consulted believe is credible based on travel patterns and financial remittance anomalies. Looking ahead, the path forward is fraught with challenges. The Kenyan government faces a trilemma. First, it must investigate and potentially dismantle the recruitment networks within its borders, which requires robust intelligence and police work. Second, it needs to provide credible economic alternatives for its youth to stem the desperation that fuels such risky ventures. Third, it must navigate the diplomatic tightrope between Moscow and Washington. Possible actions include launching a high-profile public awareness campaign about the dangers of mercenary recruitment, working with international partners to track and repatriate any willing Kenyans, and strengthening laws against foreign military recruitment on Kenyan soil. Parliament is already drafting amendments to the Penal Code to explicitly criminalize the act of recruiting or facilitating the travel of Kenyans to serve in foreign armies without government authorization, with proposed penalties of up to life imprisonment for recruiters. In conclusion, the revelation that over 1,000 Kenyans are fighting for Russia in Ukraine is more than a headline. It is a symptom of deep-seated issues: youth unemployment, economic inequality, and the vulnerabilities that arise in a globalized world. It is a story about the price of desperation and the lengths people will go to for a better life. It is a stark reminder of how distant conflicts can reach into local communities and alter lives forever. The numbers: 1,000 recruits, potential salaries of $2,715 per month, sign-on bonuses of $9,309, tell a story of calculated risk and immense financial incentive. But behind each number is a person, a family, and a future hanging in the balance. As this situation develops, Kenya must confront not only a security and diplomatic crisis, but also the fundamental question of what kind of opportunities it is creating for its next generation. The world is watching. For Kenya News Update Today, I am your host. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Kenya News Update Today.